Today we're making fall themed granny squares, and we're going to start from easiest and progress to the hardest granny square, which is the mushroom granny square. But if you only want to see one of these, then you can skip ahead using the timestamps in the description. And the pumpkin and mushroom granny squares are about 9 by 9 centimeters, and the basic granny square is about 8 by 8 centimeters. But they all have the same number of stitches on the sides, and you can block them to make them the same size. And as always, the written pattern is in the description, and please leave a like if you enjoyed the tutorial. Thank you so much, and let's get started. For this project, I used Red Heart Super Saver yarn that I had in my stash, and I used the colors Aran, Carrot, Burgundy, and Cafe Latte. And this is a medium or number 4 weight yarn, and you don't have to use this yarn, you can use any yarn you want. And I'll also be using a 5mm hook, some scissors, and a yarn needle. And links will be in the description. First, we're going to start with a basic granny square, and we're going to make it 3 rounds to get it the same size as our other 2 granny squares. And you can use any colors you want, up to 3 different colors. I'm going to use 2 different colors, white and orange, and I'm going to start with the white. So first we're going to make a magic ring. So place the yarn over your hand with the tail end at the bottom. Grab the yarn with your thumb and make sure to leave a long enough loose end to weave in later. Then grab the top and wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X. Then hold it with your pinky. Go under one side of the X. Over, grab the other side and pull it through. Then with your thumb and your first finger, grab it here, take your fingers out, and then we can start our first round. So to start the round, we're going to chain 2, and to chain, yarn over and pull through. Again, yarn over, pull through. And then we're going to do 3 double crochets into this ring. So to do a double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Again, yarn over, insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we'll do 1 more. So now we have 3 double crochets, and then we're going to chain 2. And we're going to do another 3 double crochets into the ring. So this chain 2 is the corner of the square, and then we're going to chain 2 again. And do 3 more double crochets into the ring. And if your ring is getting too big, you can tighten it a little bit by pulling on this loose end here. And then we're going to chain 2 again and do our last 3 double crochets into the ring. And now we can close the ring by grabbing our loose end and pulling on it tight. Finally, we're going to chain 2 and slip stitch to the first stitch we made. So the very first stitch we made is right here. You can see the chain 2 we did in the very beginning, and to the left of it is our very first double crochet. And at the top there's a V here. We're going to go under that V, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook and tighten it. Now our first round is complete, and we can start our second round. And our second round is going to be in a new color, so we're going to grab our orange or whatever color you want next. And to change colors, we're going to loop it onto our hook. and pull it through the loop on our hook. And then we can tighten the white yarn. And then also make sure that our orange tail is long enough. And now we can start round 2, and we're just going to keep everything over to the right. So just leave it on the right, we don't have to carry anything over. And we're going to start round 2 by chaining 2. And we're going to do a cluster into this space here. So a cluster is those 3 double crochets in a row. So in this space, we're going to do 3 double crochets. So there's 3, and we're going to chain 1, skip over this cluster, and in this chain 2 space, we're going to do a cluster, chain 2, and then another cluster. So first, 3 double crochets in this chain 2 space. And then chain 2. And 3 more double crochets into this chain 2 space. And then again, we're going to chain 1, skip over this cluster, and work a cluster, chain 2, and then another cluster into this corner. And we're going to repeat, so we're going to chain 1, skip over, do a cluster, chain 2, and then another cluster. And we're almost near the end. We're going to chain 1, skip over this cluster, and in this final corner, we're going to do just 1 cluster. Since we already did 1 in the very beginning of the round, and we're going to chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch to finish the round. So again, look for the very first stitch. So here we have our first 3 stitches. This one here, we're going to go under the V at the top, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop in our hook and tighten it. And our second round is complete. And now we're going to switch back to our white yarn. So we're going to grab our white yarn, yarn over, and pull through the loop on our hook. And then we're going to tighten the orange yarn and tighten the white yarn just a little bit so it's taut. And now we can start working with the white yarn. And since we don't need the orange yarn anymore, we can cut it off now. But if you do want to add more rounds, then you can leave it on and add a 4th round or a 5th round. So for a 3rd round, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do a cluster in the first chain 2 space here. And just like last round, every time we have a cluster, we're going to chain 1 and skip over it. And then we can work into this space here. But since it's not a corner space, we're only going to do 1 cluster in here. So only in the corner spaces, we're going to do a cluster, chain 2, a cluster. In these side spaces, the chain 1 spaces, we're going to do only 1 cluster. And then we have to skip over here, so we're going to chain 1, skip over it, and work in the corner. And in the corner, we always do a cluster, chain 2, and another cluster. And just like this first side of the square, we have a cluster we need to skip over, so we need to chain 1, and then in the side space, just 1 cluster. And then skip over this cluster by chaining 1, and in the corner space, 1 cluster, chain 2, and then another cluster. And this is the pattern we're going to repeat all the way around the square. And once we reach the end, just like last round, we're going to chain 1, skip over this cluster, and do just 1 cluster into this last corner space. And then we're going to chain 2 and slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. So there is a basic granny square with 3 rounds, and you can repeat the pattern of last round to add as many rounds as you want. And we can fasten off once we're happy with the size of it. So to fasten off, chain 1 and cut our yarn. Then pull through with your hook and tighten the knot. And the last thing to do is to weave in our loose ends. And we're going to start with the center loose end because you can see that the magic circle kind of opened up a little bit. We're going to look for that center loose end and tighten the magic ring again. And then we're going to tie a knot so it doesn't open back up. So thread your loose end into your yarn needle. And to tie a knot, we're going to go under a loop next to where our yarn is coming out. So just any loop like that. And then pull the yarn through, but leave a loop on the other side, right here. And go back into this loop and tighten the knot. And you can repeat again for a double knot, and your magic ring shouldn't open back up again. And then we can weave in this loose end to hide it. So to do that, we're going to go under these loops, just any loops, and pull your yarn through. And I want to stay in the white areas so it doesn't show through. So I'm going to go under the loops, sticking in the white areas. And you can keep going for as long as you have a loose end. But once you're happy with how much you've woven in, we can cut off the excess. And we just need to do that for our other loose ends. Now let's do the pumpkin granny square, and we're going to start with our orange yarn. And we're going to make a magic ring. So lay the yarn over your hand with the tail end at the bottom. Grab the yarn with your thumb, and make sure to leave it at least this long. Then grab the top, wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X, and hold it with your pinky. Then with your hook, go under one side of the X, over, grab the other side, and pull it through. Then use your thumb and your first finger and grab it like this. And take your fingers out. And now you have this magic ring to work into. Now we're going to chain 2. So to chain, yarn over and pull through. Again, yarn over, pull through. And in this ring, we're going to work 12 double crochets. So to do a double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into this ring, yarn over, pull through, and you should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So that's our first double crochet, and again we'll do another one. So yarn over, insert your hook back into that ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to do 10 more until we have 12 double crochets in this ring. So here I've done 12 double crochets into the ring, and you can count them using the V's at the top. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And then we're going to close the hole in the middle. So grab the tail end and pull to close up the hole. And then we're going to slip stitch to close the round. And to slip stitch, we're going to look for the first double crochet we did this round, which is this one right here. And it's right next to our chain 2 in the very beginning, and then this next V after that chain 2 is the first stitch. So we're going to go under this V at the top of this stitch, then yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook, and then tighten it. So there's round 1, and for our second round, we are going to start it by chaining 2, and then we're going to do a double crochet into the first stitch, which is that same stitch that we slip stitched to. So yarn over, go back into that same stitch that we slip stitched to, and do a double crochet. Then in the next stitch, this next V here, we're going to do 4 double crochets into this stitch. So let's go under that V, do 1 double crochet, then do another one into that same stitch, and then 2 more. So now we have 4 double crochets into this one stitch. Next, we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So 1, and then 2. And in the next, we'll do 2 as well. 1, and 2. Then in the next stitch, we're going to do a single crochet. And to do a single crochet, insert your hook into this stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. Then we'll move on to the next stitch, and in the next stitch, we'll do a slip stitch. So again, to do a slip stitch, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook, but don't tighten it. We need it to be loose so we can work into it next round. Now we've done half of our pumpkin, and we should have 6 stitches left to do the other half. And we're basically going to mirror these stitches onto the other half. So working backwards, we're going to do a slip stitch next. So again, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook, but don't tighten it. Next, we have a single crochet. So again, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops. Then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and then 4 double crochets into the next stitch, and then in the final stitch we're going to do a double crochet, and then we're going to chain 2 and slip stitch to that same stitch that we just went into. So back into the last stitch and do a slip stitch and tighten. Now our pumpkin should look like this, and we're going to grab our brown yarn to do the stem. So after our slip stitch, we're going to grab our brown yarn and change colors by looping it onto our hook like that, and then pulling it through the loop on our hook. And then we can tighten the orange yarn to pull down the loop. And then also make sure that your brown yarn has a long enough tail end to weave in later. And we don't need the orange anymore, so we can cut it off. And then to do the stem, we're going to chain 2. And we're going to double crochet into this space here. So this is a chain 2 at the beginning of round 2. So not the first stitch, but just in between. So do a double crochet into here. But before you pull through the last 2 loops, we're going to pause and we're going to drop our brown yarn. And to change colors, we're going to do the same thing, loop it onto our hook, and then pull this through these last 2 loops of our double crochet. So now we have that double crochet done in brown, but now we have the white yarn to work with. And now we're done with the brown as well, so we can cut that off. Again, make sure that your white yarn has a long enough tail end. So now we have our pumpkin, and we're going to form this square around the pumpkin. For this round, we're not going to be working under both loops of the V on each stitch. So we've been going under the V, but for this round, we're going to go from the top into the V and out the back. And this will make a sort of line and make the pumpkin raised and a little more pronounced. So you can go under both loops, but if you want a more pronounced pumpkin, then we're going to go into the back loops only. First, we're going to do a double crochet into the first stitch. So remember, we put a double crochet into the chain 2 space here, and this is the actual first stitch of the round. So we'll go into the V at the top of here, but in the back loop only. So yarn over, insert your hook from the top through the V and out the back, and do a double crochet. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 double crochet, again into the back loop only. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, all into that 1 stitch. First, 2 double crochets, and then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to go back into that same stitch and do 2 double crochets. And that forms the first corner of our square. And then we're going to do 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So to do a half double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Again, yarn over, insert your hook into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Then we'll do 2 more until we have a total of 4 half double crochets. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do a double crochet. Then the next stitch, we're going to make another corner, but we're going to do 1 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So there's 1, then chain 2, and then do 2 double crochets. And that's to make the sides of the square the same length as the top and bottom. Now along the bottom of the pumpkin, we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. Then the next stitch will be a corner, and we're going to do the same thing here, but mirrored. So we're going to do 2 double crochets, then chain 2, then 1 double crochet. So 2, chain 2, and then just 1. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch. And then we'll do 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. Then this stitch is also a corner stitch, and we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch and 1 double crochet into the final stitch. And then we're going to finish this round with a slip stitch as always, and we're going to skip over the brown stem and go into our first white double crochet. So go into the V at the top of this first stitch and do a slip stitch. So there is round 3, and each side of your square should have 8 stitches with the chain 2s in between. Then to start round 4, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do a double crochet into the same stitch. We slip stitch 2, and we're not working in the back loops only anymore. We're going to be working under both loops of the V. And then 1 double crochet into each stitch along the side. And we should have 4 double crochets before we reach the corner. And in the corner, we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So yarn over and insert your hook into this chain 2 space and do a double crochet. And then our second double crochet, chain 2, and do 2 more double crochets into this space. And you can see that it's sort of blocking the very first stitch, but that's okay because we're going to skip over this first stitch here and start working into the second stitch. So this one here, and we're going to do a double crochet, and then a double crochet into each stitch along the side. So far in this side, we should have 9 double crochets. And in this corner, we're going to do our 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. And again, we're going to skip that first stitch and start working in the second stitch. And do 1 double crochet into each stitch along the side. And we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around. After our final corner, we'll skip that first stitch and do our last 3 double crochets. And then we're going to slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. And there is our 4th round of our granny square. Each side should have 11 stitches with chain 2s in between. And you can increase the size of the square by repeating that last round. And now we're going to fasten off. And to fasten off, we're going to chain 1. And then we're going to cut our yarn about this long. And then pull through with our hook and tighten this knot. And our pumpkin granny square is almost finished. We just need to weave in our loose ends. If you don't know how to weave in your loose ends, then you can look for the timestamp or go to 11 minutes and 37 seconds on this video, and I show you how to weave in the loose ends for the basic granny square, but it applies for all 3 squares. Now we're going to make the mushroom granny square, and we're going to start with our red yarn. And we're going to make a magic ring. So hold the yarn over your hand with the tail end at the bottom. Grab it with your thumb and make sure to leave a long enough loose end. Grab the top, wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X. Then hold it with your pinky. Then with your hook, go under one side of the X, over, grab the other side and pull it through. Then with your thumb and your first finger, grab it, remove your fingers, and now you have a ring to work into. Now we're going to start our first round and we're going to chain 2. To chain, yarn over, pull through. Again, yarn over, pull through. And we're going to do 5 double crochets. So to do a double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into this ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Again, yarn over, insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we'll do 3 more for a total of 5 double crochets. So now I have 5 double crochets and you can count them with the V's at the top. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in our 6th double crochet, we're going to change colors. So we're going to start the double crochet but finish it in a new color. So get your brown yarn ready and we're going to switch to that next. So yarn over, insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then drop your red yarn. Pick up your brown yarn and hook it onto the hook and pull it through those last 2 loops. And make sure that the brown loose end is long enough to weave in later. About that long. And then we can tighten the red yarn too. And now we're going to do 2 double crochets in the brown. And we're going to be carrying the red yarn in our stitches. So hold it like that and we're going to do 2 double crochets. But in our 2nd double crochet, we are going to switch colors. So grab your white yarn and have it ready. And we're going to do the same thing we did in our last red double crochet. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, drop our brown yarn, pick up the white yarn, loop it onto our hook, and pull it through those last 2 loops. And now we have our white yarn to work with. So we can leave the tail ends off to the right side, but make sure that you're carrying the brown and the red and the tail end of the magic ring together like that. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets in the white. But we are going to switch back to the brown in our 2nd double crochet. So we already know how to change colors. In our 2nd double crochet, we're going to start it, leave the last 2 loops, then drop our white yarn, pick up the brown and yarn over and pull it through the last 2 loops. And we're not going to need the white yarn for a while, so we can put it off to the right side and only carry the red yarn and the red magic ring tail. And we're going to do 2 double crochets and we're going to switch back to our red on our 2nd double crochet. Now we're going to drop our brown yarn, pick our red yarn back up, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops on our hook. And now our first round is almost done. We're going to close up this hole in the middle by grabbing the tail end and pulling on it to close up this hole. And you can see a mini mushroom Next, we're going to slip stitch to close this round. So we're going to look for the first stitch we made. You can see the chain 2 that we did in the very beginning after our magic ring. Chain 2, and then we have to the left of it our first double crochet. And at the top we have the V, and we're going to go under the V of that stitch, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook and tighten it. Now we're going to start round 2. So first, with our red, we're going to chain 2. And for this round, we're doing 2 double crochets into each stitch with the same color. And for this part, we are going to grab our brown yarn and carry it in our stitches because we'll need it over here. So you can hold your brown yarn like this to make sure you go under it when we work into the stitch. So yarn over and go into the first stitch, which is the same stitch we slip stitch to, and it go under that V, and then make sure your brown yarn is over your hook. Yarn over, pull through, and complete your double crochet. Then we're going to do a second double crochet into this same stitch. Again, make sure your brown yarn is over your hook. And then we'll move on to the next stitch, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into this stitch. So go under that V, make sure your brown yarn is over your hook, do a double crochet, and go back in and do a second double crochet into that same stitch. And we're going to do that for all of our red stitches. And in our last red stitch, we are going to switch back to the brown. So we'll do 1 double crochet in red. And then we're going to start a double crochet, but leave the last 2 loops, drop our red, and pick up our brown yarn. And before we switch colors, we're going to pull it. So if I turn it over, you can see the brown is poking through. We're going to pull it so that it's taut and it's not showing through on the back. So not too tight that it scrunches up, just enough so you don't see the brown anymore. Then we can yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops. And now we can start working with our brown yarn, and we don't need the red anymore, so we can cut that off. So I'm going to leave about this long. And then, like I said earlier, we're going to do 2 double crochets into every stitch of the same color. So we'll do 2 double crochets into this stitch, and then 2 double crochets into this stitch, but we do have to change back to our white in our second double crochet. So leave those last 2 loops, pick the white yarn back up, yarn over, and pull it through those 2 loops. And you can see this line going across. We're going to catch that in our stitches, and also make sure to carry your brown yarn over. So as we're going into this stitch, our white strand of yarn is over our hook, and the brown yarn is also over our hook. And we'll do 2 double crochets into this stitch. And move on to the next stitch, and we're going to do 2 double crochets again. Make sure everything is being carried over our hook, and we are going to change colors in our second stitch. So in our second double crochet, we're going to leave the last 2 loops, drop our white yarn, pick up the brown, and make sure it's tightened. Yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops. And now we're done with our white yarn, and we can cut that off. Now we just need to do our 2 double crochets into each of these 2 stitches. And we're going to slip stitch to close the round. So again, look for the first stitch of the round, which is the red. This one here, we're going to go under the V at the top. yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook and tighten. Now we have a slightly bigger mushroom, and for round 3 we're going to turn this circle into a square. And for this round, instead of working under both loops of the V, so of the V's at the top of each stitch, we're going to work under the back loop only. So that means we're going to go in from the top, through the V, and out the back. And that'll make the mushroom a little bit more pronounced, but you can just go under both loops if you want. So to start round 3, we're going to chain 1. And in the first stitch, we're going to do another slip stitch. We're going to go in from the top, through the V, and out the back, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook, but don't tighten it. Next, we're going to do a single crochet. So to do a single crochet, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. Then we'll do a half double crochet. So we'll yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Then we're going to do a corner. So we're going to do a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet all into the next stitch. So do a double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet back into that same stitch. So there's our first corner, and then we'll do a half double crochet. So again, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Then a single crochet, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops. Then a slip stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook, but don't tighten it. Next is a single crochet again, then a half double crochet, then another corner, so 1 double crochet, chain 2, and then a double crochet in the same stitch. So there's our second corner. Then it's a half double crochet, single crochet, and when we reach the brown yarn, we're not going to work in the back loops only, we're going to work under both loops. So next is a slip stitch in the first brown stitch, but we're going to go under both loops of the V. And then a single crochet, half double crochet, and then a corner, so double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in the same stitch. And now we reach the white stitches, and for these white stitches we are going to work in the back loops only. So next is a half double crochet in the back loop only, single crochet in the back loop only, slip stitch, single crochet. And we're back at the brown, so we're not going to work in the back loops only, we're going to work under both loops. Next we have a half double crochet under both loops. Then we have our last corner, so double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, all in this 1 stitch. Then a half double crochet, and finally a single crochet in the last stitch. And then like we do at the end of every round, we're going to slip stitch to close the round. So look for the first stitch we made, which is this slip stitch here. Go under the V and do a slip stitch. So this is what our square looks like, and we're going to do another round to make the square a little bit bigger. And to do this 4th round, we're going to do a double crochet into every single stitch along the sides. And in the corners, these spaces here, we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So first, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do a double crochet in that first stitch, the one we slip stitched to. And we're not working in the back loops only anymore. From now on, it's all under both loops. and then a double crochet into each stitch along the side and stop once we reach the corner. So after 4 double crochets, we should reach the corner, and in the corner we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So go in this chain space and do 2 double crochets, then chain 2 and do 2 more into the same space. Now we're working on the next side of the square, and make sure you don't miss the very first stitch here, which can be kind of hidden by these stitches here. Just push that over to the right and we have this first stitch. And we're going to do a double crochet into that stitch and in every stitch along the side. Once we reach the corner, we should have 9 double crochets. And in the corner, we're going to do the same thing, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Again, make sure you don't miss the first stitch along the side and do 1 double crochet into each stitch along the side. And we're going to work all the way around, doing 1 double crochet into each stitch along the sides and doing 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets into each of these last 2 corners. And once we've gone all the way around, we're going to slip stitch again to the first stitch of the round. And now our square looks like this, and you should have 11 stitches along each side with 2 chains in each corner. And to continue increasing the size of the square, you can repeat that last round. But if this is a good size for you, we can fasten off. And to fasten off, we're going to chain 1 and cut our yarn. And pull through with our hook and tighten this knot. And there is our mushroom granny square. And the last thing to do is to weave in our loose ends. If you don't know how to weave in your loose ends, then you can look for the timestamp or go to 11 minutes and 37 seconds on this video, and I show you how to weave in the loose ends for the basic granny square, but it applies for all 3 squares. And if you want to add spots to your mushroom, then we're going to grab our white yarn again, and we're going to cut a little over a foot long, or about 35 centimeters, and then we'll thread the end into our needle. And you can start from anywhere, but let's start in this corner and work around back to that corner. So first, let's go in from the back and poke our needle up somewhere in the corner. Then pull your yarn through, but not all the way. Make sure to leave a little loose end. I'm also going to hold it so it doesn't pull through even more. And then we're going to go up a little bit and go down through a space and pull the yarn through. And then we're going to find another spot. So just go up anywhere, a little higher up, and pull it taut so the string is flat against the back. And again, we'll go down. And we'll keep adding more. And remember, we're just working across the top until we get back to this corner. And once you're back to the corner, we can take the yarn out of our needle, and then we can tie these 2 loose ends together. So just tighten it until it's flat, and then make a double knot. And then we can weave these in. And that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.